Hi guys, Victoria Paxton here. Thanks for stopping back by my YouTube channel. Do me a favor, if you're not already subscribe, hit the notification bell so that you get an update anytime I post a video, and you could like this video, that would be awesome. Okay, so today, this is another sad one, y'all. I know I say that every time, but this, it's little kids, little boys, so. Okay, so on June 6th of 1996, a murder took place in Rolette, Texas. Devon and Damon Routier were the sons of Darlie and Darren. On the night of June 6, 1996, Darlie, the mom, was asleep downstairs on the sofa, and her two little boys, Devon and Damon, were sleeping near her on the floor. Her husband, Darren, was upstairs along with their youngest baby that was 7 months old at the time. The father, Darren, and the baby, Drake, who was, I believe, 7 months old at the time, they were both asleep upstairs. Okay, so Darlie woke up to a person standing above her. She screamed. Darren heard her. Darren came downstairs. At this point, Darlie screamed and jumped up, and the perpetrator ran and dropped the knife that I guess he had used. But at this point, Darlie didn't realize that anyone had been stabbed or anything. So I guess she picked the knife up or something and moved it. So then she calls 911. Well, when Darren, the father, came downstairs, he realized that the boys had been stabbed. The dad started CPR on Damon. Devon unfortunately passed away before the paramedics got there. The paramedics put Damon into the ambulance, and he died en route. He died in the ambulance en route. So Darlie survived her wounds. She had surgery, and apparently her neck was slashed, and it was within inches of her carotid artery. So if it would have hit her carotid artery, she would definitely have bled out and died pretty quickly. So that's an important fact to remember throughout this. As I get more and more into this case, that's an important fact. Immediately after she came out of emergency surgery, the detectives interviewed her, and they immediately felt like someone in the house had done this. The scene just didn't appear as Darlie was saying it should have appeared. So the detectives didn't understand how in the heck she slept through two of her babies, being stabbed, and then her being stabbed. It just didn't add up, didn't make sense, right? She was unable to give the police a description of the perpetrator, so that kind of bothered them. They were kind of like, okay, it looks like somebody in the house did this. You can't even give us a description. The other thing is, in her 911 call, the 911 operator asked what happened, and she's explaining that her babies were stabbed. And she said something about the knife, and she said that, I picked the knife up and moved it. Oh, you could have gotten fingerprints off the knife, right? So they thought that was odd as well. I mean, because come on, that is kind of odd. Like, why are you worried about a stupid knife with fingerprints when your babies are laying there bleeding out, I mean, I kind of understand that, So supposedly, the way that the perpetrator got in was through an open window in the garage. And I guess it was a lower window, and there was dust. And so the detectives were saying, well, how come, if they broke in that way, how come the dust is unsettled? And there was a bleached blonde hair found in the screen. So remember that. Okay, let's see what else. Okay, the other thing that was kind of weird is nothing was missing from the house. So if this person had broken in with the intent to rob the place, right on the counter there were all these rings, diamonds, jewels that Darlie had taken off and left there. He didn't take anything. Like, nothing was gone. Nothing was missing. So that was kind of strange, Okay, there was no blood trail. Okay, so they did find a tube sock with Devon and Damon's blood on it down around back in an alleyway. So it was a little ways from the house, which was kind of weird. So the intruder didn't leave like a blood trail, fingerprints, nothing. So that was, of course, that was another thing that the detectives thought for sure that it had to be an inside job. The detectives went on to say that they thought the sock was planted by Darlie. So they thought she had stabbed both her boys, went out down the street, around back, behind her house, down to the alley, dropped this tube sock of her husband's that had both the boys' blood on it, came back, went to the sink, washed off the blood that she had on her hands from killing her babies, and then stabbed herself. Like, she stabbed herself over, cut herself over the sink, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So they felt like it was like a staged crime scene, you know, because there was a vacuum that was knocked over and there were bloody fingerprints that happened to be Darlie's on the vacuum. So they thought, okay, she was like trying to set it up to make it look like, you know, somebody had broken in. Okay, so a week and a half after the murders, Darlie was interrogated by a detective reportedly known for extracting confessions. Darlie allegedly stated, "If I did it, I don't remember doing that." So her family went on to say that she never said that. And, you know, unfortunately, in a lot of cases, I've heard people say that, well, if I did it, I don't remember doing it. And I think that's because that's kind of where the detectives have led them. So that's kind of the answer they come up with. Oh, well, if I did it, I don't remember doing it. Whereas me personally, if somebody just killed my babies, there's no way in HE double toothpicks that I would ever say, oh, if I did it, I don't remember doing it. Because I would never kill my kids, you know. So, yeah. Okay, so Darlie ultimately was arrested and was charged with capital murder. So the attorneys hired for Darlie, of course, challenged the accusations. The evidence that was used to arrest her was flawed, so they say. The bleach blonde hair that was found in the window screen belonged to a Rolette police officer. So it wasn't Darlie's bleach blonde hair, it was a police officer's hair. The windowsill was so low to the ground, making it unlikely that dust would be disturbed if somebody climbed through. Darlie's trial was moved to Kirk County, which is a much more conservative county in South Texas, and it has a high rate of convictions in death penalty cases. So that was kind of weird. The trial began on January 6th of 97. The prosecution opened the case by presenting the state's theory of the crime. According to the state, Darlie was a greedy, selfish, and vain woman whose extravagant lifestyle was threatened by the responsibility of motherhood. Okay. Prosecutors claimed that if Devon and Damon were dead, she could collect their life insurance. Okay, if motherhood was getting in her way, then why didn't she also kill her 7-month-old Drake? And if she killed Devon and Damon for their life insurance, supposedly they each had $5,000. So that's $10,000. Darlie's mother stated that the funeral alone was $13,000. So, and furthermore, why wouldn't she have just killed her husband? Because I'm sure he had a much larger life insurance policy. You know what I mean? Like, that part never made sense. Okay, so a medical examiner testified that Darlie's wounds were superficial. The defense introduced medical reports that stated that the neck wound came within 1/16 of an inch from severing her carotid artery, which is scary. The other thing that was left out that the jurors never got to see was her entire arm was bruised, like from top to bottom, like from fighting somebody off, you know? I mean, her entire arm was like black and blue. How does that happen if you're quote staging a scene? You know what I mean? That doesn't make sense. The main thing that really hurt Darlie's case is the jury asked to see this particular video 8 times. So they watched this 8 times. So what it was a video of Darlie and her mom and dad and her sister and her husband and everybody, their immediate family. They had just had like a memorial service for Devon and Damon. And then they walked over, I guess, to their graves. Or maybe they were already at the grave, I don't know. And Darlie's sister had brought silly string. So Darlie took the silly string and they were singing happy birthday and she was spraying it all over their grave and, you know, laughing and singing happy birthday. So, yeah, that was a huge thing for the jury. And the reasoning why they were pretty confident that she had done this was because how can you be so happy 7 days after your children have been murdered? You're sitting there joking around, singing happy birthday, laughing and spraying silly string. That was pretty. So it only took 10 hours for the jury to convict Darlie of capital murder. On February 1st, 1997, Darlie was sentenced to the death penalty. She is still on death row to this day. She claims she's innocent. There was a man arrested in 2001 that would break in through windows, grab a knife from the kitchen, and rape his victims. Okay, so immediately when I heard, this case, when someone suggested that I do it, I immediately saw, I saw this man that was like long, dark, stringy hair. It almost looked like he had a mullet, and he had like sparse facial hair. Like he couldn't grow like a solid beard. There was like, patches, if that makes sense. I also saw this other guy with glasses, a white guy with glasses. At this point, I didn't know who I was seeing, right? So I tried to connect with both boys, and I was unfortunately only able to connect with Devon. Interestingly enough, this happened with John Benet Ramsey too. It happens with a lot of kids. When he came through, he was probably mid-20s. Anyway, he goes on to talk about Damon and Drake. Both he and Damon are together. He confirmed that. He said he checks in on his brother Drake all the time. He checks in on his mom and his dad. I asked him, can you tell me what happened that night? He said he had been asleep for most of it, so he didn't know. And then when he came out of sleep, he was kind of groggy and not really understanding what was going on. He was just a little guy, Okay, so he said he remembered waking up and he saw a man above him, and he felt some kind of pain like in his belly, and he said it felt like hot, like he could feel like heat like in his tummy. He said he felt that, and then he heard his mom screaming. He felt that. He heard his mom screaming, and then he thought he had fallen asleep, and he woke up, and he is where he is now. So he wasn't able to give me like a lot of information, He said a little while after he woke up, Damon showed up where he was, and that's when they kind of like figured out that, they had been killed. They were both gone. I asked him if Damon had told him anything, had he remembered anything, and he didn't really. He just remembered the guy, and he remembered screaming. Yeah, so I said, I'm going to ask you a couple questions. I don't know if you're going to be able to answer them. So was your mom responsible for what happened? Once people cross over, they can see a lot more. So I figured, he would be able to tell me yes or no on that. And he was extremely adamant. No, my mom had nothing to do with it. Which, quite frankly, had I not have seen those two guys that I saw when I first saw these names, I for sure would have thought she had done it. I most definitely would have thought, oh, she did this and she tried to set the scene or whatever. But okay, so no, his mom was not responsible. I said, was your dad involved in it at all? Yeah. So Devon hesitated, and he said, not directly, but he is. Yes. So I said, okay, not directly as in he's not the one that actually did the killings. And he said, no, he didn't do the killings. It was another guy. And so at this point, I talked to him, and I pretty much figured out the guy with glasses that I was seeing from the very beginning is Darlie's husband, Darren. So he said at the beginning he didn't feel like his dad was involved in any way. However, he was able to see more later that his dad was involved, and it was supposed to be a robbery. And he said he's not sure if the murder part was involved or not, but he said it would kind of make sense if it was. And so, of course, that got me thinking, and my thinking was, if the husband, Darren, had a huge life insurance policy, then he probably had a huge life insurance policy on his wife, Darlie, as well. So my guess would be this person came in to rob the place, and one of the little boys woke up, and he ended up stabbing both of them. And then Darlie woke up, he stabbed her, and he literally ran because he was scared to death and didn't grab anything because, it threw off his whole plans. But, from the very beginning, I saw a man with glasses, and I didn't know who it was until I started doing research to discover that it was Darren Routier, the father. So, yeah, allegedly he's the one involved, but I don't want to get sued, y'all, but I'm telling you, I don't think for a second that he wanted his kids killed. I think that they probably woke up and saw what was going on, and the guy panicked and he killed both of them, and then he tried to off Darlie, and then he wasn't thinking straight. He was trying to get out of there. Maybe Darlie did jump up and it scared him, and so he, dropped the knife and ran and didn't grab the diamonds and jewelry that were laying there. So I hate to say, I know it's hard for some people to hear, and I'm sure people don't want to hear that aspect of it, but the dad was most definitely involved. And I don't understand why the police haven't delved deeper into this. The unfortunate thing is, I don't think this guy's ever going to get arrested. I don't see him getting arrested for the murders. So I guess that probably means if they don't arrest him, then he's not going to say, hey, Darren hired me to do this, Yeah. So, okay, you guys, listen. Wash your hands. Wear your face mask. Okay, so something happened when I did the outro to Damon and Devon Routier. So I just wanted to say, be kind to each other. Be careful with this virus going on. Take care of one another. And I hope everybody's well. Take care. Bye.